The entire spiritual effort, the spiritual science is aiming at living in this world very joyfully, ecstatically, only by shedding desires. Our heart will work, our lungs will work, our digestive system will automatically go on, the brain will do its work, every organism, every organ will start continuing its work. You don't have to desire. Do you ever desire, I must be hungry, I must be hungry, I must be hungry? While you are having your food, do you say, my hunger should be appeased, hunger should be appeased? The food should be digested, blood should be generated. Do you ever desire so? If these activities which are basic and fundamental, on which all the other activities depend and rest, they go on irresistibly, governed by the laws of nature, what is there further for you to think about it? So be natural, shed your ignorance, become illumined and enlightened. Understand that we were born not out of our option, we were born and we continue to live not because we want to live. Suppose today you start saying, I don't want to live, I don't want to live, I don't want to live. Do you think your body will fall tomorrow? We all do not want generally to die, but everybody dies. I don't think activities are necessarily desire oriented. In the ignorant man alone, activities follow desire. And this desire is a product, a complete outcome of avidya. Avidya means ignorance. This ignorance is what is sought to be removed by spiritual pursuit. Samyak sankalpanat kamaha kamat pumsaha pravartanam. Therefore he says, be very attentive. Yesterday in the satsang, a very veteran person asked me a question. I gave a reply. I think he has become very introspective. Today also I am going to discuss the same subject. Desire arises only when there are many things in this world. If there is only one, how can anybody desire for anything? Atah pramadanna parosti mrityuhu vivegino brahmavidas samadho samahita siddhimupaidi samyak samahitatma bhavasavadhana. This one verse is sufficient for you to keep you introspecting in the whole life. Atah pramadad na parosti mrityuhu. Atah pramadan na parosti mrityuhu. Vivegino brahmavidas samadhau. Vivegino brahmavidas samadhau. Samahitaha siddhimupaidi samyak. Samahita siddhimupaidi samyak. Samahitatma bhavasavadhanaha. Samahitatma bhavasavadhanaha. Ataha pramadad na pramadanna paraha asti parosti mrityuhu viveginaha. Mrityur viveginaha brahmavidaha samadhau samahitaha siddhim upaidi siddhimupaidi samyak samahitatma bhava Savadhanaha. A summarization of the whole statement. Atah pramadanna parosti mrityuhu. We are generally speaking and thinking about the mrityu, the death of the body. Actually, in what way are you concerned about the death of your body? If at all, we should be concerned about the inner spiritual death that you have. He says, there is no death greater than inattention, ashraddha. Ataha, therefore, pramadanna parosti mrityuhu. The moment you become inattentive or inadvertent, that is the mrityu for you. What is that inattention? I will just now make you understand it. What is that? The moment we wake up in the morning, our senses become active and our interactions with the world objects begin. The moment we wake up. When the senses become interactional with the objects of the world, you always feel the interactions are sensory. What? The interactions are sensory. Means the objects are there, the senses are here, and they are interacting as two different entities. And these interactions stand separate from us, separate from the mind. This is your feeling. Now, please follow the reasoning I am presenting. But I don't like to call it reasoning. I am presenting a truth, not a reason. Though I use the intelligence as the vehicle for speaking about it, expressing it, and also for you to listen to and absorb. We are using the tool of intelligence. But it is not merely an intellectual statement, it is the presentation of a truth. Who wakes up? You wake up, or the senses wake up, or the world wakes up? The individual wakes up, is it not? Till he woke up, what was he doing? He was sleeping. It is the sleeping individual who wakes up. So the wakefulness is clearly of the sleeper. Agreed or not? Yes. In sleep, you are alone by yourself. What is meant by sleep? I slept and I was not conscious of my body, conscious of the senses, conscious of any world objects, I was not conscious of any interactions. So the I in me became alone, to the exclusion of the body, mind, intelligence, ego, senses and the world. Am I right or not? It is such a person who has woken up. So this wakefulness, you tell me, belongs to me the sleeper or belongs to the senses? Huh? Why are you keeping quiet? In this way you cannot have knowledge. See, I slept and I woke up. As the sleep was exclusively mine, the waking up also is exclusively mine. Now when I woke up, that sleeping I, when it woke up, it became conscious of the body, conscious of the senses, conscious of the mind and so many other factors. And then the senses were activated. Tell me very clearly, the senses are activated by the one who slept or by the world? Thoda boliye na acha sa. Huh? Shall I cry or weep? What shall I do to make you understand? Am I activating my senses or the senses are activated by some other factor? I became conscious of my body. I opened my eyes. I saw the roof. I went to the bathroom. I washed my teeth. I started interacting through the senses with the other objects. So the entire wakefulness has sprung from me. I am the author of it. I am the creator of my wakefulness, as I was the creator of sleep. Is it not? Any doubt? Boliye na. Are you sure? Can I trust you? So in the wakefulness, I activate my senses. So the activation of the senses is from inside, from me. Let us call it the mind, the consciousness. That activity resulted in interaction. So the interaction, the whole process, interactional process, tell me, does it belong to me or to the world? Who is interacting? I am interacting with the wall in the way of seeing it, its color, shape, distance, etc. In my whole interaction, does the wall take any part and does it interact with me? So the interaction completely depends upon me. So the entire wakefulness is an expression and extension from and of me. Do you agree or not? And what was this I? This I was the sleeping I, which did not have a body, which did not have a mind, which did not have an intelligence, which did not have senses. It's very clear that in sleep we don't have all these things. It is that I who wakes up, and as a result of which the entire wakeful experiences and interactions follow. So is it not an extension from me, the sleeper? आप जोर से नहीं बोलते हैं. What is this? This lethargy is very bad. You are making me feel shy and unjustified in myself in speaking to you. थोड़ा सिर हिलाकर बोलिए ना अच्छा सा. At least say this. So the wakefulness is an extension from me, the sleeper. At the end of the wakefulness, what do? I completely wipe off the interactions and the wakefulness and I go to sleep again. Who was wakeful? The same person goes to sleep again. So the wakefulness is subject to my causing it and non-causing it. It is subject to my generation as well as obliteration or wiping. The entire wakefulness I wipe off and the entire wakefulness I give rise to. So the wakefulness belongs to me or belongs to the world? Boliye na jor se. It belongs to me. Only when I authorize it, it takes place. I generate it, it follows. And when I decide to withdraw it and sleep myself, I go into sleep. Now, I say that the interaction is an extension from me. Now you tell me extension from where? Is it from the body or from the inside? Is it from the body or is it from inside? Because the senses themselves are activated by the mind. And activities and interactions proceed from the mind. They are subsisting on the mind. They terminate on the mind. So everything is mind born, mind prevailing and mind dissolving. This mind, all of you will agree, is inside the body and different from the body. If the body is gross, well sized, it has its own features, physical and gross features. The mind inward in the body does not have all these things. So the mind is subtle. How can the subtle mind produce gross objects? I don't know why you are not reacting. Once you agree that the mind is subtle, S-U-B-T-L-E, Sukshma, how can the Sukshma mind produce so many gross objects? If the mind were to produce so many gross objects within the body, do you think the body can host it? Huh? We are seeing the whole world, very huge trees, sometimes stars, sun, moon, a number of rivers, ocean, so many things are there. If all of them are produced really within my body by the mind, then all these things, where will they be contained? Physically the body cannot contain. At the same time, the mind is producing all these objects and interactions also are produced. So the subtle mind We are not able to explain that the subtle mind can produce gross objects. At the same time, I have a clear feeling that I am interacting with the gross objects. The entire interaction originates from the mind, subsists on the mind, is terminating in the mind. Now, put the other question. If the subtle mind cannot produce gross objects, whatever is seeming to be produced is not really so. The mind has got capacity to produce thoughts, emotions, feelings, memories, ideas. All of them are subtle. The subtle mind produces in a subtle manner the ideas of gross. What? The ideas of gross. So all my interactions which are a product, an outcome and an extension of my wakefulness, are they not really subtle impressions in the body, in the mind? Subtle impressions in the mind. So apart from the gross and subtle, distant and near, and so many other impressions produced by the mind, is there really any grossness? This is the truth. Even when you are wakeful and you are interacting with the objects of the world, please understand, these interactions and interactional experiences and outcome are purely and solely inward, inner and subtle. Now, understanding this truth is what is called for by your attention. Maybe you marry, you also have a couple of children. I don't deny this. But understand that the fact of your marriage, the presence of your partner, the birth of the children, all these are notionally and ideationally in the mind. Even when you are referring to my child, you are referring to an impression or an idea produced by the mind. This can you understand? Will you agree? So the question arises, what is the question? We are producing a number of thoughts, a number of emotions, a number of feelings, a number of memories. Many a doubt is there. A lot of knowledge also is there. A lot of knowledge also is there. But is any one of them different from my mind? Is there a thought different from the mind? Is there any thinking process different from the mind? It's all the mind and the mind alone. No product ever comes there different from the mind. Everything is mind born, mind existing, mind prevailing. The substance is only one thing, namely the mind or the consciousness, and the products appear to be different. So only notionally or ideationally things are different. This is what you have to understand. In order to understand this, you have to introspect over your own mind and the mind processes. Who wakes up? I woke up. Who activated the senses? I. Who caused the interactions? I. Who makes the interactional outcomes? I. Who feels them? I. So in the whole process, is there anything different from the I alone? Now, can you hold on to this truth? Atah pramadanna parosti mrityuh vivekino brahmavidas samadhau. The moment you are inattentive to this truth, inattentive means what? We are contemplating now, we are introspecting now, but you are introspecting upon the external things and their qualities, features, etc. There are masterly engineers here, scientists here. All of them are interacting and introspecting. But their introspection is on the external. But the introspection should become internal. And try to introspect over who woke up or who wakes up. Whose extension is the world? Can there be gross things produced by the mind in the form of solid things within the body, are not activities proceeding from the mind? Are they not resting upon, subsisting upon the mind? Are they not terminating in the mind? So is there anything besides the mind in the whole of my interactions? What are these interactional outcomes? Is any outcome external? See, suddenly an elephant comes here. You will say the elephant has come. Suppose we have no eyes to see, do you think the elephant would have come? Huh? Boliye na?
No.
Okay. Suppose you don't have skin, even if the elephant rubs your body, will you know?
No.
Huh?
No.
It is our senses that create all the sensory impressions. And the senses alone cannot create them. Mind is activating them, and mind is causing the impressions. Now this fact you have to understand by a process of meditation, contemplation, withdrawal and inner focusing. That is what is mentioned in this verse. Ataha pramadanna parosti mrityuhu. Whatever you call death, the disaster called death, it is nothing but pramada, inattention, carelessness, not paying heed to this particular truth, this fact, though it is occurring to you every moment. The whole life is experiential, and all experiences are inner. But you feel that they are outer. For whom are all experiences inner? For you. And who thinks that they are external? You. In spite of the inner nature of your experiences, you still call them and understand them to be outer. Is there any greater inattention and carelessness than this? थोड़ा सोच कर बोलिए ना, चुप रहते हैं क्यों? Can you doubt my statement that experiences are inner? Can you question it? If experiences are inner, then why are you constantly thinking that externality is there? Our inner experience is such that it tells you that this is external. So that externalness is also an impression caused by the inner mind. Am I right or not? Yes. Now this fact we are not able to drive home to ourselves. That is why he says, pramada, inattention. There is no death greater than pramada. Vivekino brahmavidas samadhau. When you close your eyes, sit and meditate. The other day, yesterday, a person came to me, Swamiji, मैं ध्यान कर रहा हूँ, बहुत साल हो गए ध्यान कर रहा हूँ, फिर भी विचार ही विचार, चिंता ही चिंता आती रहती है. What will the mind do? It will think. And it has to relate the past with the present and be concerned about the future. Like the blood circulating, air circulating, the mind also is in a state of circulation between past, present and future. If the mind does not do so, will you not become a vegetable? So poor man does not understand what is meditation. Is meditation switching off the mind? That is not meditation. Meditation is trying to understand the mind process. See, if you want to have 1 hour of meditative absorption, why don't you sleep for 1 hour more? So the meditation should become different from sleep. That means it should result and cause understanding. So in the meditation, what are you trying to know? You should know what are the thoughts, where are the processes, where from do they come, where do they subsist, where do they dissolve. You will find the source is the same, the substance is the same, the dissolution also is the same. By the mind thinking what is wrong? Is there anything wrong? Suppose your mind refuses to think, where will you stand? Will you be able to identify yourself, your wife, your husband, your children? Then what is the trouble with the mind thinking? So the purpose of meditation is entirely different. It may give you some kind of an absorption, I don't mind, I don't deny. But absorption alone is not the purpose of meditation. So meditation means understanding your inner personality, understanding the mind processes, mind processes, mind processes. What is it that you call a thought? Every day you are thinking. So go into the mind and find out what is thought in me, what is the thinking process in me, what is it that you refer to as thought. If you are a thinker and you handle your thoughts, should you not explain to me what the thought in substance is? नहीं समझते क्या?